In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on July 22nd, 2016, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on Upper Township TV, Channel 97, and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made as a part of the minutes of this meeting. And if I could ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barb, call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Palumbo is absent this evening. 4 members are present.
I'd like to hear a motion for approval of the minutes for July 11th, 2016 regular meeting and closed session minutes A and B.
Motion to approve. Second.
Barb?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor.
And I guess we'll start off with the report of the governing body, and we'll start with Barb.
I just have one item. I just wanted to remind everyone that we have had a change in the meeting dates for August, and our next meeting will be next Monday, August 1st at 7:30, and then the meeting following that would be August 22nd at 7:30. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Sir. Thank
Dan?
you.
Nothing at this time. We do have a couple of contract negotiation contract negotiation issues and safety and security issue for closed session.
Thanks, sir. Paul?
Thank you. Just had a couple items. First, I had sent an email to everyone regarding the upcoming paving program with a final list of streets that we're recommending to be paved out of the bond ordinance. And I just would like authorization to start that bidding and specification writing process. If the committee is acceptable with that. If you are, what I'll do is I'll make sure that this list gets out onto the website so the public can see what streets are. And then as I'm developing my specifications, I'll also send out notices to all the property owners on those affected streets. So that way, if they want to make any repairs or upgrade their gas service or do things that would impact the road opening, that they can do that in a timely fashion.
Now, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how will the natural gas lines that are going in there, will that impact your paving program? Are you going to wait till have that done first, or?
Yes, as you know, I also did send a notice about, South Jersey Gas is going to be starting a main extension. Has nothing to do with the transmission pipeline that's proposed. There's nothing connector involved, but it's essentially they're going to be extending the main down Church Road, up Tuckahoe Road, and connect further up on Tuckahoe Road on the other side of the railroad tracks. And they're going to connect and run lines down all of the side streets along that route. So we do have on the paving project to do Elmwood Avenue in that. That's one reason why they were held up with some permitting. They were supposed to have done this last fall, but they're anticipating to be able to get all of that work well done before we start our work.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all I have.
Just to clarify, the road paving list that you circulated, I think it was last week, is that the one you're asking for approval from?
Yes.
And that all those roads are included in the central paving program for next year?
Correct.
And the committee probably, I think what Paul needs is a resolution authorizing him to proceed with those roads to be repaved that are on that list.
So do we need a motion to
Yes, that's
authorize?
fine. Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion to authorize.
And there'd be a we usually
Do you have a resolution on it? Because I don't remember having one.
typically we
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought we
If
did
you have a
that.
resolution, I'm not too worried about what's on the agenda, but if you need,
I don't need
No,
anything
it-
right now. It's just a motion for a resolution at the next
we have
meeting.
formal resolutions identifying those roads.
Yes.
Not just the program.
Correct.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Okay.
Second?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
The other item was, You also received notice, and I think this was the first weekend, that the DOT is no longer doing the detour of the Route 50 bridge on Sundays. They have felt through the couple weeks that they've done it, that the traffic heading back, the bridge construction and the one-lane detour was not affecting, especially now that they have, I'll say, the main section from Route 49 heading towards the east or south was completed, that really wasn't impacting the traffic heading home on Sunday. So I believe that they did not do the detour. They will re-examine whether or not to do the detour on Monday of Labor Day weekend. But at this point, for the remainder of the summer, they won't be doing the detour on Sundays.
Are they taking the detour signs down?
They cover them just like they do normally during the week. It's actually just changes from a detour to, that's the same route of the truck detour. So if you ever notice, they actually go over and cover the truck part of where it says truck detour, and then when they're done, they just uncover the truck, and so it's a truck detour route.
I know Saturday, coming to the shore on 49, the traffic is backed almost all the way to 55.
Yes, and it
Yeah.
was backed up Cape May Ave,
Oh, yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
backed up on 47.
It was bad.
I don't think it was a road heading into Cape May County that wasn't backed up.
I know the parkway,
It was bad.
Yes, it was
So-
everywhere you went.
So, and that's all I had this evening.
Paul, quick question. Where are we in getting this water tower paid?
They are, I've had several discussions with New Jersey American. The company that had been awarded the low bid has been stuck on a job that they can't get out of, the crew that's doing that. So they've been waiting for this crew to release from their one contractual obligation to come here. And as soon as that happens, we're next on their list to be painted. But it has been, where they were supposed to be here in the spring right after, when the weather broke.
Right.
There's been delays on their other contract, painting contract that has delayed them in coming here.
And isn't there a time frame you have to leave that sit anyway to make sure all the wells are holding? And
That actually was done over the winter time.
okay.
I mean, that's one reason why they didn't paint in the fall, was that they were waiting for some final things. They did the inside preparation, so inside the tank, it's obviously, it has water pressure, pressurized and is serving the community. They just were unable, just from a timing standpoint, to get on the outside of the tank and get painted in the fall, and now they're just having trouble getting that contractor to come back to paint.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
Barb?
Nothing this evening.
No, thank you. John?
Nothing for me yet.
Hope?
I do have a couple of things. Paul, I was told that we have restrictions on the Strathmere Beach as far as even putting the York rake on it to clean it once in a while.
Correct. In accordance with our beach maintenance plan, our entire beach, we do not rake or,
Is that a restriction that's common to everybody else that has had beach refill?
it's been common with our beach, since I've been, doing maintenance on the beach. All of our beach and dune maintenance permits, even from prior when I was engineer, all had stipulations for no beach raking on the beach.
Yeah, it just baffles me why Ocean City, Sea Isle, or Avalon, Wildwood, everybody else rakes and we're not allowed to clean our beach once a week or something.
Because of the
birds.
they had,
Oh, the birds, we can go around. That's
They
at the north end.
they had programs in place prior to a lot of the regulations being in place, so that when requirements came up for towns to implement these beach and dune maintenance permits, those towns already had active beach raking programs, where the Upper Township never had an active beach raking program. So that they it became established that we were a no rake beach, and it's just.
Is there anything we can do about that? I'm not looking to rake it every day, but sure would be nice, like once a week, to get in there before the weekends and clean it.
There are some small areas on our beach that we may be eligible to get rake, which would be essentially from Webster to Hawthorne, may be able to be raked because they're in the, if you review our beach management plan, they're broken up into different zones, and Webster to Hawthorne is our recreational zone. the areas, in Well Beach from Hawthorne South to the Sea Isle border and from Webster North up to the park and then around the park are all considered a conservation zone where no beach raking would be
Right,
permitted
that I understand, I was just.
because of the nesting bird issues.
Right.
So you're only talking about a small area, not to mention, then you're talking about, developing a whole capital program to buy the equipment. When you look at those communities that rake the beach, they're not out there with a little York rake behind the tractor. It's some sophisticated equipment at this point too.
Avalon doesn't.
They just
Avalon's got a tractor with about an 8-foot York rake on the back of it.
Well, I mean,
And that's what they use. They do it every day.
okay.
I just think, the beach is great, with the replenishment and all, but sometimes when you get down there with the seaweed and the different issues going there with the holes that are dug, the scarfing that goes on, to be able to rake it on occasion would definitely probably make it a lot more attractive and safer.
It's definitely something when we get, into our next, if we wanted to modify it, we could apply to the DEP for modification, but we'd be limited to those blocks.
Okay. And I'm not sure, I had somebody ask me that goes to that beach, and that's why I'm bringing this up. I haven't talked to anybody from Strathmore to get their feelings on it, but, I just wanted to know, and I was told that we were restricted, and that's why I was wondering how we became restricted.
Now, we have had times where we've had a large mass seaweed wash up. We have gone out there and in those instances, gotten clearance from the DEP to make sure, hey, there's no birds in that area, and been able to, to clean up large, if a large mass of seaweed washed up, we would be able to go out there in an emergency nature to get that kind of stuff. But
I'd be
on a
interested-
routine case,
Yeah.
it would have to be a permit mosquification.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to get more input from the people from Strathmore too, but again, it was a question that I had asked of me, and I told them I would get the answer.
Yep.
Mosquito Landing Road,
Mosquito Landing Road, I think I did report to the committee that it has been, the crew spent all week, last week, out there, kind of rehabilitating the road to the condition where we can keep it maintained so it won't pothole. Essentially, we turned it into a gravel type road where we can grade it and keep the potholes conditioned and, at bay. And then, that is one of the roads that's on the paving project that we can then go in and, put proper paving on it when the season comes.
the work we just did, does that have to be torn up when they repave, or is that a
No,
base coat?
we'll incorporate, that's actually the subgrade.
Okay,
So we'll regrade that. I'll have them come in and regrade that, compact it more properly, for
but they'll be able
paving.
to pave over top.
I'll be able to pave over the top of
Okay.
that, yes.
All right, I think that's a good thing then.
That's one
Right.
reason why we wanted to take the time to do it the proper way, so that the work we were gonna expend was gonna be for, gonna stay there and not just be a temporary patch and have to just be for naught.
That's a good deal then. Barb, the Hockey Association had asked me, they want to redo the old building that we used for the skateboard park. When we had the building there with the windows in and all that stuff. It's like an old metal building. And they would like to put T111 and put wood corners and have that painted the same color as the shed. And they're willing to do the work themselves. I don't know what money we had available, but it's probably in between about a $400 price tag in materials for 5/8 T111 and the 1x and stuff that has to be done, and probably 2 windows. Do we have money in the budget for that? Or can we find money for it?
If you're talking $500 or so, there's
Yeah.
probably money in the recreation budget
They're willing to
for
do all
that.
the work, and they have a couple, licensed
We
contractors
would
that are
just-
gonna do the work, so I'm
We
not
would just
afraid
buy
of
the
that.
materials.
We would just buy the materials. So if I tell them to get a material list together, then we can move forward? Okay. Also, Paul, the Friendship School, I've been trying for a couple of years now to get that thing bleached.
Yes.
And that'll save that roof and the wood. Right now, that black fungus that's on it is gonna deteriorate that wood and rot it from inside out. Can we do something and maybe get,
They're scheduled to be there next week or the week after. They're at the rescue squad right now installing a door and the sign that was taken down in one of the storms, and they're putting up the replacement. So as soon as they finish those two they're scheduled to hit the
I
historic
went
buildings.
around it the other day and it's black.
That's,
You know,
that's next on the
And
list.
they don't have to even power wash it.
Yep.
If they just go 50% bleaching water
Yep.
and do it twice, that'll come up almost like brand new cedar. The other thing I had was baseball. Our U13s, which is the A-Shore League, won the state championships for Babe Ruth, and they are moving forward into the national tournament now. Last year, we won the national title at the same level, so it's quite an accomplishment for our baseball team. Chris, how'd they do?
I think they're in the Mid-Atlantic region right now.
Okay.
13 youth playing in the Mid-Atlantic region, and I believe they were only in the consolations.
Okay.
I don't think they advanced.
Okay.
15 youth still had an opportunity. They are in Massachusetts, and they were in the semi-champ game. I don't know how they did. And I just left the 14 youth team, and they are in the championship tomorrow. If they win, they will go to nationals in Massachusetts in 2 weeks.
Thank
So
you.
all the teams have done very, very well.
And again, I know Christine's very involved with baseball.
I have a son, 14U.
Yeah.
And then
What I would ask is, the information out there for baseball is very sporadic. We very rarely see anything on our website, or can we have them possibly update like once a week, or where the games are going to be, where these kids are, what's going on? There's a lot of support out here.
The Atlantic City Press has been covering all 3 teams, 13, 14, 15, and as you're aware, the 11, 12-year-old group won the sectionals on Friday night, and they are
Right.
starting the states on.
They won Section 4, right?
They won districts, they won sectionals, there's 4
Okay.
teams left in the
But
state.
if we could get some of that information forwarded to the township, we can put it on 97, we can update it, or you can get it to Barb or to Ed Corcoran or Paul, and we can make sure that we get some information. I'd like to go to games, and it's,
They start Thursday night, 6 o'clock in Gloucester City. It'll be 4 days of games, and then the last game will
okay.
be team
But
majors.
again, as you can see where our baseball programs went the last 3 years, and it definitely parlayed into the high school this year, winning Cape Atlantics and going all the way to state finals. So we've very proud of
So you know tonight, it's time, right?
very, very, very proud of our baseball organization, and really it feeds all of our programs between football, the championships. They've been winning, soccer has been cleaning up, field hockey, all of them. So it's got a lot to be very proud of with our programs right now. And that's it.
That's it. Jim?
Paul, you didn't mention the beach replenishment they're doing over there. You want to talk about that a little bit? Didn't you say they were doing some work on the beach? Or was that, I got an email
Oh, the
here.
beach, no, they just finished up, they were just, the last little thing they had for the beach project was, they do some fertilizing of the beach grass
Okay.
that they planted last year, which, beach grass, if you've been out there, it's growing pretty well this season, so
Okay.
most of it's been pretty good. So that's
Okay.
all, they were just finishing up that.
It might have been an old email because they just finally got my system up to date. The only thing I have is that the EMS division has picked up their beach rescue vehicle this past week, and they're in the process of swapping the equipment over from the old vehicle to the new vehicle, and doing training for the employees. So once the employees are trained up, then they'll put it over there on the beach at Strathmere. Probably, I would think sometime next week, if everybody gets trained up. So that's all I have.
Okay, Jeff, thanks. Nothing to report tonight, but Barb, why don't we go into the resolutions?
Okay. Item number 1, appointing Ansel Grimm and Aaron P.C. and Lawrence H. Shapiro Esquire as special legal counsel.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 2, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign a contract with KD National Force Security Investigations for professional security services.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, authorizing the execution of an NJDEP TWA1 application statements of consent form regarding 25 East Winthrop Avenue, Strathmere, Block 857, Lot 11.
Move to authorize.
Second?
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, authorizing the reduction of the performance bond for the major subdivision known as the extension of Sea Sounds Avenue, Block 597, Lot 5.
Move to authorize.
They've met all the requirements?
That's a release of a performance bond, so they've essentially did the major clearing, they've grubbed out the road, and they've started installing drainage. So this is kind of a release of you know, a portion of their work. So yeah, the work that's been done out there is satisfactory and in conformance with the plans
Okay.
and specs.
We have a second?
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, canceling taxes on exempt property, Block 637, Lot 3, and Block 640, Lot 2.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, tax refund for Block 453, Lot 259.44.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, authorizing the township officials to undertake certain actions with respect to an in-rem foreclosure action group, group number 152, Superior Court of New Jersey, docket number F031993-15.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, authorizing the purchase of a Case TR-270 compact track loader with options in the amount of $78,111 through the National Joint Powers Alliance Cooperative contract with funds from the 2016 Capital Improvement Bond Ordinance.
Now, this is the piece of equipment I believe we talked about last week, you brought up, to help us clear some of those pathways off up that beach.
I'd also like to note if our budget price for that was $100,000, so we did see quite a bit of considerable savings
That's good.
by going with this national co-op vendor based on, you know, our budgetary price quotes that we gotten back in
Yeah,
December.
I've been around these machines being used, and they're quite unbelievable, you know, what they can get done. So, move the resolution.
Second?
Call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, authorize payment from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of Upper Township.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, authorizing purchases to be made under state contract pursuant to NJSA 40A 11-12.
Is this for the loader?
No, no, this is to use a certain vendor for state contract
All
purchases.
right, do we include the vendor or the,
Yes,
This
the vendor is CDW
Okay.
Government.
Mhm.
We
Okay.
get a lot of computer supplies and that type of thing from them.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Call the roll,
Mr.
please?
Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, authorizing the award of a contract with Bayhead Investments, DBA VCI, for automotive parts and repairs.
Move to authorize.
Second?
Call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 12, authorizing the purchase of certain items from the 2016 Capital Improvement Bond Ordinance in the amount of $36,661.
Now, this is the one, Paul, that has the loader in it, right?
This has the small mini
Small
loader
loader. That's what you talked about.
to do some of our recreation work and help
Yeah.
out that, as well as the play structure at the Webster Avenue.
All right, and I'd like to thank Roy for, you know, going out and getting the specs on this. We really got our money's worth, and not only came under budget, but picked up 3 additional implements for this tractor that we didn't count on getting, so I think it's going to be a great improvement.
And that was the playground for
Stratford.
Stratford, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 13, under new business, G4 Productions requests the use of Colwell Park as a rest stop for a Young Survival Coalition charity bike ride on September 18th, 2016. And I will note that they are in compliance. They have all the necessary approvals from EMS, State Police, the county freeholders.
Have they checked with the
And-
football schedule board?
Yes, the football, I've checked with football schedule. There are no football games that day.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 14, Stockton University Coastal Research Center Annual Report of Strathmere Beaches and Corson's Inlet in Upper Township for 2015.
We need a motion to accept?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Well, before we move on, I just want to point out that perhaps we also should give directions, perhaps Paul. There was a recommendation that because of the changes in the inlet that could occur in short time periods, that their reports be transmitted to the U.S. Army Corps, so they're aware of any intermediate changes between their monitoring. So Paul and I talked about it. He thought it was a good idea as well. So if you don't mind, I'd like Paul to have some direction to do that.
I'll amend my motion to state that.
I'll also be sending it up to the DEP Bureau of Coastal Engineering, so they work closely with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So that way, both departments, who look at these issues have the most up-to-date information.
Very good.
Need a motion?
Okay.
Yeah, he
Motion
did.
was amended.
Second?
Somebody-
Second.
Yes.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 15, bid results for the reconstruction of the Bayview Boat Ramp.
John, thank you. Do you have a few things you want to say
Yeah,
again?
Paul reviewed the technical specifications. Just to give the committee I'll let Paul go over the numbers with you. He did receive, the second lowest bidder did have a protest. I've spoken to him. I've reviewed preliminarily the items that he was concerned about in the submission of the lower bidder. None of them at this time appear material. I would like to review them a little further. If in the event that there is an issue that still needs to be decided, I suggest that we schedule a hearing prior to any actions taken. Perhaps we could put on an agenda for next week, and we can have a hearing where the low bidder and the second lowest bidder could come if they had any comments. We'll be prepared to give you a recommendation at that as to how to handle any action on the bid. There is a significant difference between the lowest bidder and the next lowest bidder. I will tell you preliminarily, the items that may require a waiver are minor in nature. They're not the required items where if they did not submit it. In other words, there are some statutory items that if you don't submit them, your bid's invalid. They comply with all of those. It's really, for example, the company, one of the items is the company was operating under a doing business as, and they're registered with the state that way, and they submitted their bid that way. But some of their documentation, some of it has their alternate name, some of it has their corporate name. As I was explaining to one of the committee members previously, in my opinion, that's a distinction without a difference. It's still the same company. And the bonding company has both names on the bond. So in all material respects, at least from the initial review, it appears as though the low bidder satisfies requirements, and any inconsistency that the second bidder is pointing out is not significant enough to avoid the bid. But let's continue the investigation, and we'll put it on the agenda so that you can have a thorough review if it's still contested. And I'm not sure it will be, because I talked to the second bidder, explained the situation. I'm not sure they still want to consider protesting the bid. So we'll, Paul, you want to explain the numbers, how they came in?
Sure. The low bid was from Atlantic Marine Construction. They had a bid of $336,692.35. Total 15 contractors took the bids out. We had 4 total bidders. The high bid was $520,051. I think the second low bidder was right around 484,000. I think 57,000. The engineer's estimate for the project was $349,452. So the low bidder was under the engineer's estimate, and as Dan said, there were some discrepancies, and none of them were of the mandatory rejection nature. Under our initial review,
I want to make sure that because there was a protest filed, that we be very thorough and give you a good opinion. That's why I would like to schedule for the agenda for next meeting.
So you need a motion from us just to retable this
Just
until,
put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
And we can answer any questions you may have, but obviously, there's a significant difference in the bids. And we want to make sure that we're doing this properly.
I give you the opportunity to review it. So you need a motion for us to,
Yeah.
Motion to table.
Second.
Call
Mr.
roll?
Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Hagen?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Barb, before we go forward, I have a question back on the bond with the playground equipment, Paul. Had you sat down with the people from Strathmere on that design?
I spoke with Karen on that play structure. We still have to discuss, and I still need to meet with committee on, what kind of surfacing, because how we're gonna proceed with what type of surfacing is gonna depend on the timing of installing the surfacing and working on the bulkhead or not.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we
So we
keep
still
them in
need
the
to have some discussion, but as far as the play structure itself, yeah, I sent that all over to them, to Karen, and, she would take a look at it. And
They're willing to help maintain it to a point, so I want to make sure we keep them in the loop and get their opinions on it.
Anything else, though?
That's it.
Motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second. Call roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
And we have acceptance of some reports from municipal departments and the tax collector, and motion to accept the
Second.
reports. Second. Call roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
And that opens us up to the public comment section. Anybody like to? There you go, Karen. State your
Karen
names,
Mitchell,
rank, and serial
21
number.
Williams Avenue, Strathmere, President of Citizens for Strathmere and Whale Beach. I have a question, Paul and Hobie, about resolution number 12. That $36,600, is that the cost of the bulkhead repair, or
No.
what is that covering?
There was two items. One was the purchase of a piece of equipment for the Public Works Department, which was a small little mini loader backhoe. The other item was
The play
the
structure.
play structure itself. And-
Okay, so we've ordered the play structures,
Well, we've
It's been authorized tonight. It will be ordered in the next day or so.
so it's not going to go in this summer?
No, we knew the structure, with the procurement process, by the time the bond was approved and all the procurement process, that's why we put those other implements in to kind of add those extra items, but as far as the new structure, it was never going to be able to come in this summer.
Okay, so it covers that piece of equipment and the two items in the playground that you and I spoke about, the handicap swing and the additional section that'll go on the jungle gym?
That doesn't cover that, we'll take care of that, that was going to be ordered under a separate vendor.
I think where you're going, Karen, is you want some type of a semblance of order as far as what the plan is for out there.
Well, I'm just
How
wanted
the
to know what
bulkhead and
that
everything.
$36,600 covered, and did we order the things that we mentioned we were going to order in the spring?
Okay.
And have they been ordered? Have they arrived? When do we expect them to be placed?
Where are
in the
they in
playground?
as far as, where are you as far as ordering the other equipment Karen's talking about?
We have most of that, I was told that we have most of the swing in stock as far as, because it's already been
I
ordered
believe we ordered the swing already. We have this one.
That's for the handicap swing?
for the handicap swing.
We have that in stock.
Or it's been ordered. I don't know if we've received it yet.
When do you anticipate receiving it?
I can check and give you an update email on when that's going to come later this week.
Because this is when people are using the playground in the summer, so. I was under the impression that equipment was going to be installed this summer, those two pieces.
I would think, especially if we do a poured in place playground, that's going to keep people off of it for a while. So we're going to need to do that in the fall during the off-season.
Well, why are we talking about the pour-in place when we don't even have the bulkhead done?
Well, we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do with the surface.
I thought we were just going to keep the surface that was there, and then we were going to add those two pieces of equipment that we discussed, and then you were going to fix the bulkhead, and then we were going to come up with a plan for the entire playground. Right? That's what we agreed
Yeah.
upon.
I mean, we're looking into the poured in place, but we have to get figures and all that. That's when I'm talking about it. You know, it's, the cost factor on that's quite high. So we're trying to make sure that it's going to work in that playground area with the wave action, and to make sure, you know, our research is there, so that we don't put something down at $30,000 or $40,000 and first storm that comes up.
Well, yeah, we weren't talking about doing the pour in place yet because we didn't have a
Right.
scheme put together.
Right.
We were talking about adding those 2 pieces of equipment as of last spring,
Yeah.
and repairing the bulkhead. All right?
Correct.
When do you anticipate having those 2 pieces of equipment installed?
Well, we just got authorization to purchase the one piece of equipment. I mean, that's part of the procurement process. I mean, it could have been done maybe a week faster, but no real other faster.
We had to approve money from a bond first, so that took some time to approve the bond, and then get quotes to have the equipment approved. And that just happened tonight.
Okay. All right. My next thing, I'm going to wear a different hat right now. I'm chairman of the fire commission, so I want to talk to Mr. Pearson, Mr. Barr. About 5 years ago, the township came over to Strathmere and yellow painted the no parking, no stopping areas. And that was done because of the fire company not being able to maybe get their equipment around in the midst of the summer when everyone is parking. Over a 5-year period, that has faded out. So, you know, it probably should be repainted to eliminate any possible problems.
Most of them are repainted. You know, we check those almost every year to see which ones need to be repainted. Some of them,
No one's checking the ones that I just saw.
some of them were not repainted this year because with Commonwealth Avenue being resurfaced, they did not want to go out and paint and then have everything tore up, so we were waiting for some of the work to be completed because then when the summer came, we still have to get back out there because we were told that they were gonna have the whole road done before Memorial Day, and then when they didn't, it's just a scheduling thing to get back there, and I know they're out there.
Well, that may be true in Commonwealth, but let's just take Neptune and
Out there with
Williams.
a bucket of paint
Yeah.
and brush.
I'll tell you, what we'll do is
They're out there.
Paul will just we'll direct our gentleman over at the
Yeah, I mean, there's
Public
been
Works to
no
go out,
construction
evaluate,
over
see
it.
what has to be done, and we'll paint the curbs.
Yeah, and obviously, some of this is not there because of the new construction, you know. The painting doesn't exist because of that. But then there's areas that have not been under construction, that it's all
That are
faded.
faded.
Yeah, so, you know, really, people stop, people park, people are parking right up to the curb line, and then you can't see when you're trying to pull out, and I think there's going to be a problem.
Okay, we'll take care of that.
Okay. Okay, do you want me to talk a little bit about the beaches? About the raking? Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand why we would need raking of the beaches. I mean, I think Strathmere, we want a nice natural environment there.
Well, it is. And I was thinking, you know, it was asked to me why we don't rake it once a week or something, just if there's any wood that washes up or it'll help fill the potholes in. From the,
Yeah,
oh,
but
not the
part
potholes.
of Strathmere Beach is that it's a nice natural environment. You walk on the beach, you get to pick up shells, you get to see the prints of the fox and all this kind of stuff. The township sends someone over to clean the beaches on a daily basis. It does a fantastic job at that. We've just spent an inordinate amount of money on dredging, which has been ideal and perfect.
That's why I threw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand. I mean,
Question was asked of me, and I had to find the answer to why we're not allowed to.
plus,
Basically what it
the township has always been very receptive about coming over if there's a problem. Right, Paul?
Yes.
And you come right over and you clean up any kind of a mess there might be, but on a daily basis to start spending the money to make it a Disney World? I mean,
No,
why?
not to do that. Again, once a week, it might be nice, but I'm not looking to clean it every day like the other beaches are. The other beaches have beach tags and everything else, we don't.
Well,
So
exactly.
they should be cleaned every day. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Christine Fury, 2 West Sumner Avenue, Strathmere. I was here a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the jitney, and what is the status of any of that. We talked about the licensing permits, any written documentation that they have a commerce agreement with the restaurants. I just didn't know where we were with that. I know we discussed it a
My
little bit.
understanding that you were made aware of it at the Strathmere Improvement Association meeting. I talked to the mayor, and when I last spoke to the Jitney, I didn't speak to the Jitney Association, I spoke to the restaurant folks, that the Jitney Association is supposed to not be going until 3 or 4 in the morning. They're going to stop, I think it was 1 or 1:30, and that they had spoken to your husband, and that's what you would ask for, and they said that's okay. We will probably look at some regulations in the off-season to try and look at the ordinance to see if there's something that can be done, so we don't have to ask them next year to have a private service. We can regulate it and make sure it doesn't happen. That's what happened before. If that's not occurring, I need to know that. If they're still running into the early morning, my understanding they're not.
I've seen them running in the early morning, and I think the other question I had brought up a few weeks ago.
When? This past 2 weeks?
Yes, yes.
How late?
When we're getting woken up, 3 or 4.
I didn't hear what you said.
3 or 4 in the morning, yes. I was awakened at 4 o'clock in the morning by 5 drunks in the middle of our streets. I had no idea where they would go.
Sir, could you get up and state your name and your address?
Can I just finish what else I was
Sure.
saying, and then we'll take our
Okay, when you're
turns?
done.
But, so what I was trying to get at is, we talked about at the meeting with Mayor Colombo over in Strathmere a little bit, that it was a commerce
That's my
agreement.
understanding, that I wasn't there, obviously.
Yes, and I'm just bringing you up to date a little bit as well, that it was a commerce agreement. But my concern was still that the Jitney is able to stop at all the corners in town and use the back street and use the side street. Like Thursday night, for example, I saw the Jitney stop at my corner 3 different times to pick up people, and using my street, like Sumner Avenue, to go to the back street and use the main street to maybe go to another place along the main street. I'm many blocks away from the
I
Dover.
guess I'm getting confused. My understanding when you spoke to me after the meeting last time is that you were primarily concerned with the late night. If that stopped, that would be resolved. When I spoke to the restaurant that is financially supporting the Jitney, they spoke to the Jitney Association, they said, yes, I'm going to investigate that. If you're saying now you don't want them stopping it, that's a regulation item. I got to find out that, with my understanding, again, briefly, is that it's not a licensed bus service, that it's a private enterprise paid by the Restaurant Association. If that's not accurate, I stopped the investigation once they said they would shut it down the way you requested. So if you're saying you still have a problem, then I'm going to have to investigate further.
I am still having a problem. I didn't know, you're saying that the restaurant is paying for that. I did hear that, and Ms. Mayor Palumbo did share that with me. But they are still charging people that get on and off the Jitney $2 and $4. So the restaurant can pay the money, and people can also get charged.
Again...
On my corner, they're paying $2 and $4 when
Again.
they're getting off. At the restaurants, they're getting on and
I understand your
off.
concern.
There's
I'm
two
not prepared to answer that because
Okay.
I didn't go further once they told me they were not going to go past 1 o'clock. And I was told, because I talked to them back, I said, oh no, we went to the Strathmere Improvement Association and the residents are happy now. And I said, all right, we're going to get a regulation to address whatever concerns we have in the fall.
Dan, if I could, I was at the meeting, and Rich stated at that meeting that they would be stopping at Deauville, Fontana's,
And
and
Mildred's.
Mildred's only, and they would not be stopping any longer at any of the corners or traveling
And I
around the
didn't
back
know that,
roads.
so-
That's what his statement was, and I have not,
Now, I didn't talk to her about...
am I right, Chris?
Yes.
I didn't talk to Ms. Brown about the stops in terms of the second conversation. I didn't advise them that there was a concern they should only be doing restaurants. So maybe there's a miscommunication. But my understanding is, well, let me get this straight. If they stop at 1 or whatever they said, 1 or 1:30, and they only stop at restaurants, that's what you want.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And Twisties is not one of them.
Twisties
Everything
is
was
not a
supposed-
stop.
yes. From what he said, everything was supposed to be relegated to Commonwealth Avenue.
Yeah, I'm not in the middle of that. Again, that
But I'm
was a
just saying
private
that's-
organization. So what has to happen now is I got to find out why it's not happening. I wish
You did receive my message. I did send you the Jitney Association's.
I have the contact for them.
The contact and the
But
number.
within days of that, I was told it's all taken care of. So that's the problem I had. I thought it was taken care of. I circled back. I didn't call you. I didn't think it needed to because I was told either you or your husband was at the meeting and everybody was satisfied with the result.
I was at the meeting, it's myself. And I said, if it were to end at 1 o'clock, is that when the Deauville wraps up and everybody ends at 1 o'clock, but we still have the jitney using all our corners in the whole town as a bus stop, using the back streets, using the side street. So they were still coming in and they're still charging the $2 and the $4. And we talked about this, it's a commerce deal with the restaurants, and they stop at the restaurants and they stop on the restaurant's end.
That's
But
not
it's a
happening, that's
transportation,
the situation.
they're coming through as a transportation loop, and it's the same jitney. It's not a private jitney. If I see Jitney 87 come in at 4 o'clock, I see Jitney 87 all night long in my town, on the side street, on the back street, everywhere in town, not just at
Is that
three restaurants.
what you're saying, is that Jitney 87 is the one that's,
No, I'm saying every night's a different jitney. They use a different number each night. I guess they give the gentleman or the lady who is running the
I
jitney.
apologize, I thought
That
it was
loop.
resolved. I was told by the mayor and by the owner of the Deauville that it was resolved and that you were satisfied with the resolution. This is the first I heard that you're not satisfied.
If they are stopping at the 3 restaurants and they are ending at 1 o'clock, I am very satisfied. But that's not what we're seeing. So that's the question. That's why I'm kind of back tonight to find out what had occurred, because they're still on the side streets, they're still on the back streets.
We didn't know, we'll find out about it.
And just, this is second-party information, there was a person on the back street that got bumped by a jitney as they were walking by. They did not ask for any medical attention, they did not file a report. But knowing that a jitney was on the back street that is running this loop that bumped into somebody, that could come back, I don't know to who, if the jitneys aren't there with a license or a permit, and they're only supposed to be at the restaurants. I want just to bring that to your attention.
Okay.
And that's second-party information. I was not there at the time, but that is what I heard. That would be something that would come back to the township, perhaps.
Township has no liability for that. They're breaking an ordinance and they invalidly hit somebody, that's their.
Well, if they're
thing.
breaking an ordinance and we know that they're there and we're not doing anything about it, you're the lawyer. I just wanted to let you know. All right, thank you again for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Anyone else?
I can just add a little thing to that. The other day, I used the jitney service, and I can't think of the darn name of the service right now. They only have 3 jitneys, this service that we use, but they do service Strathmere and Sea Isle.
Shuttle, maybe?
Yeah,
Short shuttle, I think, is another.
that might be at Shore Shuttle. They only have 3, and they charge us $5 to go from Summers Point into Ocean City for the boat parade. That's what we did it for.
Yeah, I believe that's a ride share type thing.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
one of those, it's set up to try and avoid
Yeah.
local registration, local ordinances.
But I think that's what they're doing here. I think they're,
I don't know that.
I just
don't
have
know
a
that.
feeling. My gut
And
says that
again,
they're doing it.
The investigation stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, it just stopped because I was told that what you would ask for, you were given.
And
It's
that's
the first time
very
knowing
happy. I
that,
would be happy if that was what we had for 3 restaurants, and the 1 o'clock time frame is fantastic. But that's still not what's happening, and that's why I wanted to come here and let you know that it's still acting as a transportation route instead of a commerce agreement.
Anyone else? Ralph?
Hi, Ralph Cooper, 6 Gladwin Drive. I'm with the Upper Township Green Team. I just wanted to remind you all about the farmers market that's going on. We have a few more markets this season, and we'd like to encourage the Township Committee to come out. Also, if you can do anything to help publicize and promote the farmers market for the community, we'd like to have it possibly publicized on Channel 97 and maybe the Township website. I haven't seen it on there yet this season.
Paul, we don't have that on the website? Or 97?
If you have any, also if you have any emails that you send out, like a general email for the township people, if you can encourage them to come. This is the second year we've had the farmers market. It's a very good activity for the community. We do get into the second half of the season now where we really have to work to get a turnout. People that have been there early in the season maybe don't come back as often. We've also made a special effort to promote and advertise to get the seasonal residents, the ones in the campgrounds and over in Strathmere, to come over. We've worked on that a lot. We haven't been as successful as we hoped, and so we have a few more weeks, and we'd like to see if we could get the township support to sort of buoy that attendance in the last few weeks. We're running through Friday, August 19th, and it runs every Friday from 3:30 until 7 o'clock. I would like to point out that we've had, obviously, in the past few weeks, some issues with possible thunderstorms. As a volunteer, I've been down there, and the phone reception in that area is very weak at the best. And hopefully the township can work through the carriers like Verizon to possibly improve the phone service down there, because we refer to that a lot to keep track of the weather and to know whether we need to, call the market or be aware of thunderstorms. And the reception there is pretty much like it is in this building, about zero.
Oh, isn't that the area where they were, like a year or so ago, and they, off of Ocean Road, they were talking about putting the tower down?
That was down in Palermo, so that wouldn't be the same.
I'm not sure what the road route is.
Are there antennas on the water tower yet?
No.
No.
I think that's part of
They're
your,
anticipated, correct?
No cellulars.
No?
No.
So I don't know if other people have reported that, but it seems to be a dead zone in that Seaville area. The same sort of situation as I said a minute ago, that when I volunteered to come out here for the one of the shelter operations for the CERT program, we tried to use our phones at the middle school and couldn't get reception there at all.
yeah, in this area, it's
And
tough. It's very
This
difficult.
seems to me that the township, through their public utility connections, might want to keep pushing to get those pockets resolved, particularly in this area and over where we have such a public area as the farmers market. Anybody have any questions about the farmers market?
No, see it out there Friday, looks like it's pretty busy to me.
Okay. The other thing I would like to tell you is that through the Green Team, we are going to start up again to work through the cycle of getting recertified in the coming year. The township has been certified under Sustainable Jersey now for the past 2.5 years or so. The renewal for recertification will be next June of 2017. We have quite a few things that we've been working with as the volunteers and also through Paul with the Township Committee that will be a matter of just reestablishing some of the issues that we're already doing. But there's a whole bunch of new issues that have come up and what they call actions. And many of them involve what's called civic engagement to try to get the citizens more involved with local government. And we hope that we can work with the committee in the coming year to possibly stimulate some of that, get more volunteer activity in the community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank
you.
Ralph.
Anyone else? Oh,
Ralph, quick, how you making out with the museum? Did you reach out to Seeger? Did you get in touch with them?
We, okay, different.
Yeah.
The Township Historical Society is working on a number of different activities. We've talked with the National Guard Museum up in Seeger involving the oral history program for veterans.
Good.
That's going to be an ongoing thing. We've talked to Dennis Township and over in Atlantic County. And we're going to see if we can act as a catalyst in Upper Township to get some of the veterans to participate in that history program. Initially, we'll probably look to try to carpool to take veterans up to Seeger. If we get enough that are interested, then we could, the contact up there said she'd come down and help us down here.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, that ends our meeting for tonight, and hear a motion to go into closed session. Everybody have a nice night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
I hereby move the resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Contract negotiations with Adams, Raymond, Hagan Associates Incorporated, and our collective bargaining agreement. Also, safety and security. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. with respect to contract negotiations. Such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality.
Second?
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you for coming. Have a good night.